All right, this is Module 2, Homework 9. All right, so we're looking at some, we just looked at dividing with binomials into terms. Now we're going to do synthetic division. So learning synthetic division. Here, this question has where it's dividing this right here by this right here. Now, that's x plus 3. Now, I tell you, when we're dividing, the way that synthetic division works is that this term here, what we're dividing by, has to have a leading coefficient of 1, has to have 1. Its degree power has to be 1. And it has to have another term right here. So it has to be in the form of x minus c, is kind of what we say. All right? So it's one variable, it doesn't have to be x, it could be n, it could be p, it could be any letter. But x is normally the letter we use. But x, it says the leading coefficient of 1 and the variable is raised to the single power. And then it has a constant. All right? If it didn't have a constant, then there would be a mono division problem, like we just did seconds ago in the other lesson. Okay? Now, what we do in this process is we take the leading coefficients that are right here, and we write them down. Let's say we got 1, we got 4, 6, and 17. Now, the only reason we can write these down is because, first, we're dealing with a degree power that's larger than the degree power that we're divided by. All right? And it's also in descending order properly. By the way, every constant is understood to be raised to the 0 power. The variable is raised to the 0 power for that reason. It's equal 1, and that times the constant gives us that value, right? So it's in descending order. So 3, 2, 1, 0. Has to be in descending order. If you started with 5, it would be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If it was 2, it would be 2, 1, 0. Okay? So everything goes down to 1 basically, and then the constant, which is 0. Now, once you identify that it's in proper order and there's nothing missing, then you can take the leading coefficient of those values and put them in this right here. And you can see in this particular problem that they already did that for you. All right? And now what you do is you go ahead and put this. I don't like to write the box the way they're writing it. I like to write it this way. Because I like to go ahead and put my line like this. Okay? This is what we're divided by. You take the value of the positive 3 and you change its sign. You make it become opposite. All right? So take this, make it become its opposite. That's what the negative c means. So that answers the first question right here. All right? Now what you do is you drop this value down. You drop it down. And then you multiply this number here. So this number that we just dropped down, and we put it here. All right, so then we have negative 3. That's negative 3 times 1. Negative 3. Then we go ahead and add these two together. So multiply, product goes here, add them together, it gives us 1. Because 4 plus negative 3 is 1. Now we kind of almost hit reset. And we hit or multiply this times the 1 and put that product here. And then add that together again. So 6 minus 3 is going to give us 3. Now we hit reset again and multiply this times this and put product here. And negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. Add this together, all right, we get 8. So those are the values that we're going to put there. But now the quotient is going to be what we have here. Now, I like to go ahead and put a line between the last term and the second to last term. I like to put that line because that line represents this as being the remainder. And I'll show you what to do with that in just a second. Now, you start with a degree power 3. Your quotient is going to be x to the second, degree less than what we started with, always. So if it was x to the 15th, it would be x to the 14th here. But then you put the x to the second, and then you go ahead and put the coefficient, which is 1, so you really don't need to put that. Now, we have a positive value here, so we're going to have positive, and then it's just going to be simply x, because we have the variable, the leading coefficient of 1. Then we have a positive value. See, these are all positive, aren't they? So that's positive 3. And since we have x to the second, x to the first, we have x to the 0. That's the constant. And then we have the plus remainder, which the remainder is 8 over what we divided by, which wasn't negative 3. It was this guy right here, or simply this guy. So x plus 3. There's our answer for that. All right, and that's the quotient, and that's the remainder. All right, now it says the answer written in quotient and remainder divisor is this right here. That's why I wrote that. So what's the answer? Okay, so let's see if we got it all right. We got the negative 3, we got the 1, the 3, the 8. And then we have this part is the quotient. The remainder is the value here, and that's why I put that here. Okay, and then we have the answer as what's indicated. We do not need to, when we get this last answer, we do not need to bracket. All right, we just get the whole answer, and that is synthetic division. So I'm going to speed that up a little bit so you can get the flow pattern, and then we should be good after 10 questions with this. All right. So again, I'm going to make sure I'm in order, which I am. It's 3, 2, 1, 0, which is good. So all I'm going to do is list the coefficients. So it's 1, 10, 15, 21, and then there's what we're dividing by is negative 1. So you take the opposite of whatever it is. It's x plus 1. I'm going to put negative 1 for what we're dividing by. All right. Now we go ahead and put a line. Drop, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, and there's our remainder. So our answer is quotient is x to the second, because we started with x to the third, plus 9x plus 6. That's our quotient. Our remainder is going to be the 15. All right, now it's 15 over, and then it's x plus 1. Now let's see how they display the answer. There's the quotient, which I gave you. Here is the remainder. All right, and now that's why I put up here remainder. They're looking for just this number. The answer written as above, the entire thing is proper when we put the 15 divided by the x plus 1. That was time. All right. Now we see here, it's written a little bit differently. We're just going to go ahead and put negative 5 for the box. 1, 2, negative 15. Drop, multiply, add, multiply, and we get 0. When that results to 0, that's kind of significant. It means that this is divisible when it's of the negative 0. So when it's divisible, it means this is a 0 of the polynomial. Now we move on. So then this is going to be x to the, since we start with x to the second, it's going to be x to the first, and then it's going to be minus 3, and then the remainder is 0, so I don't have to worry about that. So here's my answer. So I'm done with that one. All right? I haven't fallen off the page yet, have I? So are you getting it? That's the thing. I mean, now again, I'm always looking out for, are we in proper order? Are all pieces identified? And when I see that I'm dividing by a x minus 3 situation. Now, don't get wrapped up in the minus c. The reason why minus c, by the way, is because you take the opposite of what's there. So if it's negative 4, it's going to become positive 4 when you start dividing it, by the way. That's significant. You should have seen the pattern. I always was changing the sign of what was the originating value. So this is, and that's something that I now mentioned to you again to make sure that you remember doing it. Then we have 3, negative 15, 14, negative 9. Another thing I want to make sure is that they could put it out of order, by the way. They could have put the x to the third and then x to the first. Make sure you put it in proper descending order. These are all snags that they throw at you, see if you know what you're doing. You drop this, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, and there's your answer. That's your answer. So your answer is 3x to the second, right? So that's what we were before, was x to the third. And then it's minus 3x plus 2. And then the remainder is going, once it adds the remainder, okay, so then they went like this. And there's our answer. Alright, so let's see if I got everything right. That's always important. I recognize that mistakes too. So it's like you can. Alright, this is number 5. So we have 3. Excuse me, not 3. My mind is not working. 2. Opposite of 2. Anyway, I'm looking at that 3 for the x and the power. So that's 1. And then that's 2. That's 2. I don't have a constant, so I'm going to put a 0. I don't have x to the 0 power, right? So that's why that I'm putting in a 0 here. Now, that's a placeholder. Okay? So it's so good. So now, I'm going to drop the 1, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, and I'm done. X to the, let's start with the third, so x to the second, plus 4x, plus 10, plus 20 over what we divided by, x minus 2. So there's our answer in that point. So let's take a look. And it looks like we got the right answer. See, that's critical that we have that 0 in that placeholder for, it's a spacer that allows us to finalize the remainder. Alright? Really important that we're doing that. Now we have positive 1 for our divisor. 3, 2, negative 10, okay. And then we go ahead and put a line, drop, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, and then go remainder. So we end up with 3, x to the second plus 5x minus 5 plus 5 over x minus 1. Alright, looks like we got the right answer. Always a good thing. Yeah, we have 4 more of these. If you're not catching on to it, you better be sharpening your mind because this is pretty straightforward. I'm trying to speed through them because it's redundancy now. So you have positive 7, you have 1, negative 6, negative 7. It's in descending order, proper everything is recorded properly. So when you drop the first term, the first number, multiply, add, add. So our answer is x plus 1. That's our answer. Alright, the leading coefficient. With a remainder of 0, that gives us that. Okay? Now let's take a look at the next one, maybe negative 6. And then it's not, when I watch this one, I found something a little different. It's 1, 0, because there's no x to the second, negative 43, negative 53. So, drop, 1, multiply, add, multiply. And then doing that, that's going to give us 7. All right, that's negative. Now when we multiply, that's positive 42. And when we add that together, we're going to get negative 11. So then we have our answer of x to the second, because we started with x to the third, minus 6x minus 7 minus 11 over x plus 6. Fell off the page there, sorry guys. Alright, so here we have our answer, and it looks like we got the right answer. So it moves very quick. You can see I can add pretty quickly in my head. If you can't do that, then you're going to have to go ahead and resolve the problem. It's not a big deal. Alright, last couple here. Then we have negative 5. And then watch this. This one's finally a little different. It's going to be positive 1 because I have x to the third last. Then I have a 0 because x to the second isn't available. And then I have negative 32 because that's x. And then I have negative 34 for that value. Alright? That one's a little different. Now drop, multiply, add, multiply. And then we have subtraction between 7, negative 7. And that's going to be 35, it's positive, and that's going to be 1. So our answer is x to the second, so we start with x to the third, minus 5x, minus 7. Alright, and then it's going to be plus 1 over x plus 5. Alright, I'm making short work of this. It moves very, very quick when you know where you're going. And the last and final one, question number 10, is dividing, so it's going to be positive 1. Alright, and then we have negative 2. Not negative 2. I'm always looking for negative, or the 3, or the third power. It's actually x to the fourth, so it's going to be 1, but I looked at it all. And then negative 2. X to the second is there, so that's a 0. And then I have negative 4, and then positive 6. And then drop, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. Now we have x to the third minus x squared minus x minus 3 plus 3 over x minus 1. That's, hold on. What did I do wrong? There's somebody missing a sign. I agree with you. It's something.
Should be negative
Yep.
1 under the
Yes,
negative
it
4.
is. You're right. You're right. I'm missing the sign. Correct. There you go. And we have the negative 5. And then now we'll screw up our remainder. Our remainder is that. Let's fix that. Thank you very much. Missing signs are good. We have negative 5, and then that's 1. All right. I love it. See, you guys learning. All right, thank you. All right, so we have that. All right. All right, so that is the conclusion of division synthetically. That's pretty fast. All right. Good luck with that homework, I think.